Saudi Arabia will host a Ukrainian-organized peace summit to find a way of ending war between Ukraine and Russia. Melchezedek Cadiz reports.
The head of the Ukraine's presidential office, Andrei Yermak, confirmed that Saudi Arabia will host talks in early August to assess the situation in Ukraine and discuss a peace plan. The summit will be attended by national security advisors and political advisors who are expected to discuss the implementation of Ukraine's peace formula in Jeddah. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has first introduced the 10-point peace plan to the global leaders during the G20 summit in Bali, Indonesia in November of last year. In December, Zelensky urged world leaders to support his idea for a global peace summit that would focus on peace plan. Ukraine's 10-point peace plan calls for the implementation of radiation and nuclear safety, food security, energy security, prisoners and deportees, United Nations Charter and Ukraine's territorial integrity, as well as world order, Russian troops and hostilities, justice, immediate protection for the environment, and prevention of escalation and confirmation of the end of the war. The Ukrainian Peace Summit will be divided in 3 phases, with the first phase one held in Denmark on June 27th, the second phase to take place in Saudi Arabia in early August, and the last phase to possibly take place by the end of the year. Western allies have promised to support Ukraine with more weapons during the 2-day NATO summit in Vilnius, Lithuania, earlier this month. However, Ukraine's NATO membership remains unclear as member states are divided whether to invite Ukraine to the alliance. Reporting, this has been Melchezedek Cadiz, SMNI News.
A recent Gallup poll reveals that public confidence in the U.S. military has reached its lowest point since 1997. Over the past 2 years, trust in the armed forces has declined by 10 points, leading to a historic recruitment crisis. Loren Santos has the details.
According to a Gallup poll published on Monday, fewer Americans have confidence in their military than at any point since 1997. Over the last 2 years, trust in the armed forces has dropped by 10 points, leading to a historic recruitment crisis for the services. The poll that was conducted in June revealed that 60% of respondents expressed a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in the military, which is down from 64% last year. The last time public confidence in the military was at 60% was in 1997, and it has not been lower since 1988, when it was at 58%. After the 9/11 attacks in 2001, public support for the U.S. services surged, with the armed forces enjoying 82% approval when President George W. Bush invaded Iraq in 2003. While the post-9/11 patriotism declined, as the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan continued, approval remained in the mid-70s until 2020, when it began to steadily decline year after year. Traditionally, Republicans are more likely to support the military than Democrats, but their confidence has dropped from 91% in 2020 to 68% today. As public support for the military declines, the armed forces are facing challenges in recruiting new members. Army, Navy, and Air Force leaders testified in a congressional hearing in March that they all expect to fall short of their recruitment targets this year, particularly after the Army experienced its worst year for recruitment in 2020 since the abolition of the draft in 1973. According to a Pentagon study published in March, of the 17 to 24-year-olds usually targeted by military recruiters, 80% are physically unfit for service due to obesity, drug use, or poor mental health. Furthermore, only 9% of this age group have an interest in joining the military in the first place, as stated by Army Secretary Christine Wormuth in an interview with CNBC News in October. Reporting, this has been Loren Santos, SMNI News.
More than 2 weeks after Russia left the Black Sea Grain Initiative, Croatia will now be opening its ports to Ukraine to help the war-torn country export its grains. Details of this report from RJ Perez.
On Monday, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba held talks with his Croatian counterpart Gordon Garlish-Radman during his visit to Ukraine in hybrid format. Kuleba participated online as he was in self-isolation after testing positive for COVID-19. The two officials agreed on a possibility of using Croatian ports on the Danube River and the Adriatic Sea to help Kiev export its grains. Croatia also offered Ukraine to use its rail network as another method of transit for the said good. In addition to grain exports, Kuleba and Radman also discussed weapon supplies, preparations for an international conference on demining Ukraine, which is set to take place in Zagreb in October, and the 10-point peace plan Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced in 2022. It can be recalled that Russia left the Black Sea Grain Initiative on July 17th this year. In effect, this threatened the global food security, leading to food shortages and rising prices. According to the UN's Joint Coordination Center, 57% of the foodstuffs exported from Ukraine over the past year went to developing countries and 43% to developed countries. Ukraine also supplied 750,000 tons of grain to the World Food Program or WFP, which was sent humanitarian aid to countries like Afghanistan, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen, according to the UN. Meanwhile, the European Union says that Ukraine supplied the WFP with more than 80% of all its grain over the past year. Currently, Ukraine relies on land export routes via the European Union as well as an alternative route via the Danube River. This has been RJ Perez reporting, SMNN News.